Tom Murphy now joins the program once again, as he does every Thursday at 7:20. Tom, I'll start with a football question as we get rolling this morning, and I'll let you go to the conference, then the non-conference, and the conference. You've got 4 really intriguing non-conference games with Cincinnati, going to Provo, to BYU. I know you're probably excited about that trip. Liberty welcoming in Hugh Freeze, no Malik Willis, and then Missouri State and good old Bobby Petrino. Those 4 games, Tom, which one are you most excited to cover? Which one do you think fans are most excited to attend?
Good morning, everybody. Well, all of them are exciting to me for various reasons. I mean, Bobby Petrino coming in. I mean, what is that offense going to look like? I mean, because we know what it looked like here. It was hard to stop. But do they have the athletes, the personnel to stop Arkansas to start with? And then do they have the athletes who can, be efficient and move the ball down the field? To me, the Cincinnati game, when I look at Arkansas and scheduling and when they catch people and all that, I always think they catch people at wrong times. Well, this is a right time because they lose both of those great cornerbacks. They lose Ritter, the quarterback. They lose just a ton of personnel. Now, the structure's in place for them to be great, and we think Luke Fickell is a very high-quality coach. But it's the first game. Whoever's starting at quarterback will not have a ton of experience. So that one's intriguing because it's going to bring so much interest because they were a playoff team. Liberty, obviously, Hugh Freeze, he probably would have liked having the job here a few years ago. They're going to be a good offense. And then BYU, that's just going to be tough. They've been a good program. The game's out there. And, of course, I like to travel, so that one will be fascinating for me.
And then you look at the conference games. I mean, you get to welcome in Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart, Bryce Young, the last Heisman Trophy winner, Nick Saban, LSU and Brian Kelly. I mean, this home schedule, man, is prolific, which is the one that, I mean, I know you used to cover Alabama, and there's a lot of intrigue in a lot of places. You get Spencer Rattler in South Carolina week 2. What's the best home game that you're like, man, I cannot wait to be in Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium?
Well, I haven't gone through it with a fine-tooth comb, and they're all going to be great. And I keep hearing the radio spots now that, first season was 7 home games. That was going to be 2 years ago, the COVID year, and Notre Dame was going to be part of it. Mm-hmm. But they lost out on that one, and that was going to be the first time. The way their scheduling is setting up right now, they're going on the road for these marquee twofers for the first game. And I think that applies to Oklahoma State coming up, and it applies to Utah. It applies to the BYU. But in the Notre Dame series, it was going to be Notre Dame here, and they don't get to play it. Yeah. But still, 7 games at home against 2 of your bigger conference rivals, it's a big deal. And as close as they played Alabama on the road last year, you'd like to think that Arkansas is going to be a tough out for anybody. But maybe this is one year where you get more breaks. You win the turnover battle and you have a chance to beat Alabama. Who knows? Bryce Young, the sidearm pass was a huge play in that game that just where his athleticism was on full display. So the Arkansas fans, there's a lot to look forward to, and I think there's so many swing games on their schedule next year that could go either way.
Tom, there's 24 new players coming in this year for Arkansas, 6 of those being transfer players. Of those 6, 4 on the defensive side. Has anyone stood out to you? I know they're just now going to get to true full contact, but I wonder if any of those 6 have stood out to you and what you've seen so far in the early practices here with spring drills.
Well, McLaughlin's going to be—he's just a high energy guy, and he's you see him on the sideline. He's a little bit mouthy, and I think they're going to have to work with him on that. If you're out on the field and you're talking to a DB, okay, that's fine. But in practice and do that, Sam just came out and said on our last talk to him, which was Wednesday, 2 weeks ago, that We don't do that around here. And so he's going to learn and he's going to improve. But he's something else. He's one of those, like, cover cornerbacks that is dynamic in a lot of different ways, and just excitable, I guess would be a word. Brini has flashed at safety. Yeah. We haven't seen Landon Jackson. He's been on the injured list, but man, he came up and got some water right in front of us the other day, and boy, he is a big dude. So he's got a great frame, and if he can be a pass rush specialist, like his frame would tell you he could be, they could be in business, because I just think that what they're doing is going to help improve the rush. I think they're going to send linebackers a little more, and which means they're going to have to cover better. But they really need some ends who can hit home.
Yeah. Let me ask you about the linebackers, because another one of those transfers is Drew Sanders from Alabama. He'll pair alongside, you assume, Bumper Poole, who comes back with 125 tackles. How do you think those two will maybe mesh and play together in that second level of this Arkansas defense that has to see the run game particularly funnel to those two guys for the stops?
Exactly, and I think Drew Sanders is going to be a very good fit. I think they're going to try to do some inventive things with him. Right now, it's Pooh Paul and Bumper Poole running with the first team, but we've seen Drew Sanders take first team reps, and they love Jordan Crook. And he just made a play. It was an edge play the other day, and just his speed and instinct, he got out to the edge, and it would have been like a 1 yard gain or a tackle right at the line of scrimmage, and you could just see his speed and ability to get to the edge. So, and explosiveness. And Sam Pittman's talked about him a few times. I really love him, and that just means his attitude and his hustle and all that. So, I think those look like your top four linebackers. And I'm going to name a guy, Jackson Woodard, who every time he gets on the field, you just see him making a play. And I know he's a walk-on or maybe a former walk-on, but Woodard, I think, could give them some reps. So there's 5 linebackers right there, and I think they can go deeper than that.
Woodard, our Christian alum, hopefully he gets some time on the field this season. All right, Tom Murphy with us here on the Morning Rush. Tom, shifting gears to basketball, I expect Jalen Williams to enter his name in the NBA draft, get the evaluation. In your opinion, Tom, what is a area based on the numbers that Jalen should leave on in the top 45 in the early second round? If Jalen hears this draft grade, when should he leave, or if he should leave?
Well, if I was more well-versed in what the slotting was for the because I know that the salaries are kind of slotted, I would be able to tell you. He has to weigh, it's various factors. How much farther do I want to get toward a degree? How important is that to me and my family? How much better can I be as a collegian if I come back for another year? How much is team success a part of, his goals? Because it seems to me with this incoming class, they're going to have, a few more dynamic players. They'll be younger, and so they'll have to work through some pains of meshing together, but that's important too, along with making money, being a professional and all that comes with that. He has been one of my favorite kids I've seen since I've come back to Arkansas. He's been one of my favorite kids because he's got a smile on his face and because of all the intangible things he does. I selfishly want to see him play another year here.
I think that's what a lot of people expect. Now, I said something in the first hour that I would expect some people to take offense to just based on the surface, saying that I don't want Arkansas to be preseason number 1 because I think that could affect them the wrong way, the expectations associated with that ranking. Tom, do you think Arkansas, when you look at what they're going to be preseason next year, all the hype, all that, you think they'd be better off not being ranked preseason number 1 just based on what is supposed to go on with that?
Well, I get what you're saying. From a psychological standpoint, that's a pretty big burden. But the rankings change so much during men's basketball that it would be a huge feather in their cap, and there's certainly a lot of people who would love that. But Duke is in the Final Four, and Duke has a higher signing class. I don't know how they're going to get ahead of Duke.
Yeah. And if you're preseason number 1, 2, or 3, you get to live there for a while without playing any games. So you get the publicity of that for whatever it's worth in the middle of football season. Hey, before you go, preview the baseball this weekend. Another big home series. Mississippi State, the defending national champions, coming in. Didn't get to play last night because of weather, but a critical 3-game stand this weekend as the Hogs take on the Bulldogs.
Absolutely. I look at it like this. Mississippi State won the championship that probably should have been Arkansas's. If they can somehow get by NC State, then Arkansas is in the same side of the bracket, and I think would have been playing Mississippi State. Now, look, they were granted peaking at the right time. They've lost one of their best pitchers, but they're playing a lot better baseball. They came back, had some dramatic wins against Alabama last weekend, and it was at home. They haven't played very well so far this year. I mean, Grambling went in there and had a 2-1 game against them. They lost 2 out of 3 to Tulane. So they haven't been, quote, themselves. But Arkansas swept them in Starkville last year. Mm-hmm. They're going to be out for blood or, revenge, whatever you want to say. But I just still think it's going to be a lot of close games, just like those were last year. And Arkansas, the pieces aren't fitting all together quite right for them right now. And you feel like they're going to continue on a path that leads to that. But clutch hitting and certain, like the start by Mark Adamiak the other day, they gave up 4 runs in the first inning. So Little Rock, there's just some pieces they still need to keep putting in place. And as always, you trust Dave Van Horn and the staff to get it going in the right direction.
Sorry.
Is Siri got something to say?
My watch went off.
Okay.
my watch went off for some reason.
Yeah, mine will do that from time to time. Well, Tom, it should be a good weekend at the ballpark, and we'll recap it on Monday with you when you join us again.
All right, outstanding. Everybody, have a great weekend.
Tell Siri we said hi there. So my watch will do that from time to time, too. I'll just be talking, and she's got answers. So that happens.
Finally here, the top teams in college basketball have been determined, and the Final Four is set. Looking to wager on these games or the national championship? Head over to betonline.ag on your desktop or your mobile device and sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV to get started. That's BLEAV. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all your updated odds and info, along with player props and new contests throughout the year. It's the best source for all your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and everyone's favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so join today. Learn why everyone is saying BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.